Texan make a wide range of shortwave radios. For instance,
Tecsun 501X,
Tecsun PL990X,
Texan PL680,
Tecsun S2000, Texan 330,
Texan S880GM.
and today we look at the Texan flagship radio, the H501X. We've been doing the Texan range of portable receivers now for some while, and you might be forgiven in thinking that they are just portable domestic receivers that happen to cover the shortwave bands, and if you put a BFO, beat frequency oscillator, in there, if you're lucky you might hear the odd ham radio signal. That might have been the case many years ago when Sony first introduced their world band receivers. I had one of those myself, and they did work, but not particularly well. Well, things have changed somewhat now, and Texan have actually tailored their receivers to suit ham radio operators. There's certain features which you'll see as I go through the radio, that there are some features there which are very relevant to ham radio. And so they become a more serious receiver. Now, why would you want a portable receiver? Well, several reasons. I mean, one of the examples I can think of is that if you were becoming interested in ham radio and you wanted to listen on the bands, you don't really want to spend a lot of money on a receiver. You don't want to buy a transceiver because you might never use it, and you haven't really got an aerial down the garden, and you've got to rig up a wire and this sort of thing. It'd be nice if you could just pick up a radio that covered the ham radio bands, and if you decided that it wasn't for you, you've still got quite a nice domestic receiver that the wife or girlfriend or partner will be happy for you to keep. So there is an aspect of it in that direction, but it's also nice to have a portable receiver, particularly if you're away from home sometimes. It could be a holiday in a hotel or in your motorhome or whatever, or travelling to see relatives, and there was nothing much on television and the conversation got rather boring, and you thought, wouldn't it be nice to hear the local ham radio signals? Well, that's another example. Texan do make some really nice radios. They're very good quality, well presented, very stable, and this particular one we're going to talk about, or I'm going to show you, is what they call their flagship radio. Now, it's their flagship radio because it's very comprehensive in what it has to offer. It's got 2 speakers, it's got excellent quality, it's got some nice features. So let's dive in and let me run through basically what this receiver has to offer. The radio comes with a smart carry case, and there's a pocket there for putting the instruction book or any other accessory leads that you might have just tucked in there. The dimensions of the radio is just under 30 centimetres wide and approximately 17 centimetres high. On the back is a fold-out stand, and that allows us to place the radio in a convenient tilted position on a desk or table. The radio comes with 2 rechargeable batteries which are inserted in the base of the receiver. For portable use, the radio comes with a telescopic aerial. When fully extended, the antenna is approximately 80 centimetres long. Let's look at the main controls. You've got the bass, the treble and the volume controls on the left hand side. And right at the bottom on the left you've got a USB connection. Then on the right hand side at the top here you've got a slide switch which selects DX normal or local, and that really is a front end attenuator switch. And then the next control down is the main tuning dial, and the bottom one is the fine tuning, which you'd only normally use for SSB or CW reception. Now if we take a closer look on the right hand side, you've got 2 sockets. The top socket is for an external FM antenna, and the lower socket is for an external wire antenna. Right at the bottom is a USB socket which is used for charging the batteries. As the radio's got a built-in clock, we've got a button there for setting the time and a couple of timer settings there for alarm, etc. On the bottom left, we've got some more sockets. We've got a headphone socket there, stereo headphone socket. We've got line in and line out. Now the main on-off button is here, and I've turned the lights down a bit so you can see when I switch it on, you'll see the display light up. It takes a second or so to boot up, and then you'll notice the light goes off, and the light will only come on when I adjust a control. As soon as I've stopped adjusting the control after 2 or 3 seconds, the backlight will go off. But there is a button here, number 5, which allows me to override that and to have the backlit display on all the time. So how does it sound on the air? Well, I've got some clips here which I've gathered together, and you can judge for yourself. It certainly works very well.
Thanks for the call. Nice signal. You're 5-8 from Italy. My QTH is Kentucky. My name is Dave. Delta Alpha Victor Echo.
Okay, thank you. Halfway to each one then. So I'm pretty sure about that less than 4 milliwatts. But that's typical Chinese, man. You know, what they mean is that
Anyway, Mike, you take care of yourself. I know it's afternoon here. Just getting started here. Stand me free, Mike. Teacher.
This is Yankee Oscar Fleet Delta Alpha Mike. Yankee Ontario Fleet Delta America Mexico calling and standing by.
I'm using it by the Yasu from my papa. And I'm running it is 300 watt only into 3 element Yagi monometers is homemade plastic. America Delta Sugar Mediterranean Sea. Keyword that. 5 America X-ray going secure.
In this rest of the year, basically. 73 is OF1, Echo Bravo Lima. 73 is over there, bro.
This receiver has many features, so let me just describe the main features that you'll probably be interested in. And I think once I've been through these, you'll realise how comprehensive this receiver actually is. The radio has a wide frequency coverage, and I've put the coverage up on the screen here, and you'll also see that it is a triple conversion superhet, so it's quite a comprehensive design. We can change the FM broadcast band coverage by changing the starting point. So if I hold in button 1 for a second, we can then cycle through the starting point of the FM broadcast band. Likewise, I can change the frequency steps of the medium wave band by holding button 1 in. 9, or hold it in again, 10, and go back to 9. I can also disable the long wave band. If I hold button 2 in, long wave is on. If I hold button 2 in again, it's off. Now band selection is taken care of on the right hand side. The top button is FM, and I'm already on the FM band. If I press the medium wave button, I'm on the medium wave band. And I've then got the shortwave bands there. Now the radio is quite intelligent, because if I'm on the shortwave bands, I've selected the shortwave bands with this button here, and this same button then takes me up through the shortwave broadcast bands. So each time I click those buttons, I'm going up and down the shortwave broadcast bands. By default on the shortwave bands, the radio switches to the AM mode, but I've got upper and lower sideband buttons here. If I press the sideband button, when I change bands, I go through the ham bands, as you can see. Now, for some reason, it's got a 13 megahertz band there as well. I don't really understand that. But otherwise, it goes through 80 metres, 80 metres, 60 metres, 40 metres, 30 metres, this strange 13 megahertz band, 20 metres, 17 metres, etc., which is quite handy for ham radio operation. There's also direct frequency entry. If I wanted the 14 megahertz band, say I wanted 14025, that's the CW end of the 14 megahertz band. It's that quick. If I wanted to go into the 40 meter band, so I would have 7, say 1, 2, 5, and there we are. We're on the 40 meter band in the SSB segment. On AM, on the shortwave bands, the main tuning dial goes in 5 kilohertz steps, whilst the fine tuning is in 1 kilohertz steps. If we switch to sideband, then the steps become on the main dial that become 1 kilohertz steps, and on the fine tuning dial they're in 10 hertz steps. You can see on the right hand side there. So fine tuning is very good indeed. Ham operators will also be interested in this top left hand button here. It selects the filters. The widest bandwidth on SSB is 4 kilohertz, and when I press this button we'll cycle through the filters. Down to 500 hertz for CW, and if we press it again it goes back up the range to 4 kilohertz. Now when we switch to AM, we've got a wider set of filters, with the widest of which is 9 kilohertz. Again it cycles through, but it doesn't go down quite so narrow. Now we've got a synchro button here, this one here. At the moment I'm listening to a rather noisy AM station, and the idea of the synchro button is that it injects a carrier and it is supposed to enhance speech on a noisy station. So I'm not sure whether you can hear this, it's a bit noisy, but now I'm going to hold this sync button in. And it sounds more like a telephone conversation. On some stations it makes more of a difference than others, and of course you can select the filter too wide. It does have an effect, but it only works on certain types of interference and signals. Hold it in again and we go back to perhaps a slightly noisier but more mellow audio sound. I should add, by the way, that this telescopic aerial only works on FM broadcasts and the shortwave bands. On medium wave and long wave it relies on the built-in Faraday aerial, and because it's got a Faraday aerial it does mean to say you can rotate the radio to get the best reception, which of course is quite effective on medium wave and long wave, particularly if you're operating inside a building. Now there's rather a big bold button at the top here, but all it does is actually locks the tuning. If I press it in you'll see a padlock sign come up, and press it again, it unlocks, and I accidentally pressed it when I first had this radio, not realising what it was. So I'm not quite sure why they've made it such a bold button there, but anyway that's what it does. It locks the tuning and unlocks the tuning. Now there's another little interesting button here. It's the mode button. At the moment I'm tuned to an FM broadcast station. If I press it once, that now is searching for a PC, and if my USB on the left hand side, if the USB cable is connected to a PC, it will function as an audio hub. So if you were to switch, if you were to plug this into a PC, go into your preferences, you'll see this USB connection on here appear on your computer. Click on that and then you can play the music from your computer through the two speakers. If you've got an iPhone or a smartphone, then you can probably do the same thing with that. If you've got one of the older phones, of course, you can use the line in or line out sockets there. So it's searching for a PC. It won't find one because it's not connected, but if I press it again, it says play. And if I press play, well, it's already playing, as you can hear. Rather a nice piece of music. And if I press that button, it stops. If I press that button, we hear it all over again. The reason is that it's got a plug-in micro SD card, which is in the base, which I'll show you in a second. And they supply that card with the radio. I'm not quite sure what the size is, but you can record onto that card from your PC. But what you can't do is you can't record music from the radio onto that card. Unfortunately, you've got to pre-record that card, then you can plug it into your radio, and you've got some music of your own choice if there's nothing else to listen to. Now the tiny SD card slot is there, and just to the right of it is a little tiny pinhole, which is the reset button. So if you get yourself into a real muddle, which is unlikely, but you want to sort of reset the radio, basically press that and the radio is reset to the factory position. The radio's also got scanning on it. If, for example, I'm on the FM band, I can press that button and it will hunt for stations, and if you set it up correctly, it will load those stations into the memory. There's a very large memory. It's got about 20 or 30 pages, I think. And if I press that button there, you'll just see the page come up briefly there with the memory number. Then it goes back to the normal radio setting. Now, turn this down a bit. There's another interesting display on here. On this meter up here, you've got the signal strength, which is in dBs, and the signal to noise ratio. How accurate that is, I don't know, but it is an indication of signal strength. So you've got dB signal strength on the left and signal to noise ratio on the right. Quite an interesting little setting. And there we are, that's on the built-in antenna indoors. Right, I'm going to try and demonstrate the filter now. Well, we've got a signal there. Right, that's at its widest. That's 4 kilohertz. And you can hear it improve as I go down to about 2.3 kilohertz. It's too narrow there. That's CW. That's 2.3. That's 2.3. You can hear as it gets wider. So, hopefully that's a demonstration of the filter. It's quite good actually, the filter. Now the audio quality from the radio on FM broadcast is excellent, really good. It's got 2 speakers, as you obviously can see, but I was a little bit disappointed because I couldn't detect any stereo sound until I read the instruction book. Now I'm going to just go zoom in a bit on the display so you can see what I'm going to show you a bit more clearly. Now I'm listening to a radio program. It is in stereo, it's not particularly anything wonderful because all the rest is talking, so I won't turn the sound up really. But at the moment it's in mono, but if I press the FM button, it suddenly lights up the stereo. So if you're tuning around and you don't hear the stereo, you need to press the FM button very briefly. Rather strange. I would have thought it would have defaulted to stereo, and perhaps the idea is basically once you set it to stereo, the only time you change that button is if it was a bit noisy and you go to mono. But anyway, when I got the radio, I wasn't hearing stereo until I realised a quick tap on the FM button switches stereo on. So there we are, a tip. So that really is the Tecsun H501X. Very nice receiver. I've enjoyed reviewing it. And I actually own a Texan receiver myself. Not that one, I own a smaller one which I use in my motorhome, but that also covers the shortwave bands and it works extremely well. And it's a very nice product. You won't be disappointed, that's for sure. It really is a question of, do you want a portable receiver that will double as a domestic receiver and also enable you to keep in touch, particularly on the HF bands, because that's where it excels, on the HF bands. And it's, as I say, it's nicely packaged, nicely presented, very reliable, and you get an excellent 2-year warranty with it. If you want more information about this particular receiver or the other models in the range, then click onto our website, just type Texan in the search bar, T-E-C-S-U-N, and you'll find all the models come up there. So, as usual, thank you for watching this video. It's been slightly different this time, I think, because it's more domesticated. Was it domesticated? No, it's not domesticated, it's ham radio. That's what this channel is all about. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. And thank you for your support on this channel, much appreciated. Don't forget to press the subscribe button. Until the next time, take care, enjoy your ham radio, speak soon.